I'd like to call this regular council meeting to order. Before we proceed, I want to acknowledge that the land upon which we are situated is the traditional territory of the Attawandaronk, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe people. We are the beneficiaries of ancient agreements, such as the dish with one spoon, between the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee, who agreed to share the abundance of the land through peace, friendship, and mutual respect. The two-row wampum, by which the Haudenosaunee welcomed the settlers and agreed to share the land in mutual respect, and the Treaty of Niagara, considered a fundamental document by First Nations in all future relations and treaties with the British. We recognize that we have a responsibility to be stewards of the land in cooperation and collaboration with the Indigenous people, not only for one generation, but for all generations to come. We understand that we have an obligation to learn the lessons of our history, educate ourselves about the experiences of the Indigenous people, and seek opportunities to heal the wounds that will result in reconciliation with our Indigenous sisters and brothers. Many First Nations, Métis, and Innu people live and work in Fort Erie. We stand with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live. We have the good fortune to live in a land of such abundance, diversity, and beauty. Let us be vigilant in protecting Turtle Island. Would you all please rise for the invocation?
We meet to serve our community and endeavor to be worthy custodians of all that has been entrusted to us. Let us be concerned only for what will promote good government. May we bring to our council chambers minds that think and hearts that feel, so that in our deliberations we may display imagination, wisdom, and courage, and the will to do our work for the good of all.
Thank you. The roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Your Worship, all members of council are present.
Thank you. There are no announcements this evening except to indicate that we're going to be later on making presentation to some local high school swimmers who performed quite well at both the SASA and OFSA championships. And there is one addendum, and that is a change to bylaw 22-2026. We received notice later today about a couple of minor amendments to basically take into account some changes that have occurred over the time since that bylaw was originally passed. So they're friendly in nature, but I should alert you to that. And I'll get the Director of Planning to explain the nature of those changes. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Mr. Clerk, I have a pecuniary interest in connection with item 14.4 in closed session. There are a couple of names referred to there for appointments to the North Bridgeburg Secondary Plan Focus Group. I have a business relationship with one of them, so when we get to that stage, I will, in closed session, leave the room when we deal with the voting on that individual's name. The other one I have no connection with, so I can vote on that person. And then when we come back into open session after the closed session, I'll indicate the individual, and as I said, it's a business relationship. If there are no other declarations of pecuniary interest, we have some upcoming public meetings and open houses. The first is an open house for the Bridgeburg North Secondary Plan this Wednesday, March 25th at 5:30 p.m. here in the atrium of the Town Hall. We have a public meeting for an official plan and zoning bylaw amendments for 848 Garrison Road. That is scheduled for our council meeting on April the 13th, 2026, here in the council chambers at Town Hall. And then there's a public meeting for an official plan and zoning bylaw amendments and plan of subdivision and plan of common elements condominium for 145 Derby Road and 3990 Rebstock Road, same evening, April the 13th, at 6 p.m. here in the council chambers. So that should be exciting. Regional Council, these public meetings are all exciting. Regional Councillor, I see, is not in attendance this evening, so there won't be a report. That takes us to presentations and delegations, and Dr. Leslie Rigg is scheduled to, yes, and there she is at the back. From the President and Vice Chancellor of Brock University. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Redekop, councillors. I think we have a presentation. A drawer, a secret drawer. Oh, look at that. Okay. And the forward button just here? Okay, great. So, good evening. This really is a wonderful opportunity for me to fill you in on some of the things that are going on at Brock. I would say it's truly an exciting time to be at Brock and to be here in Niagara. As you are more than aware, I'm not going to mute. There we go, functioning. Okay, awesome. As you know, 60 years ago, Niagara residents joined together to advocate for a university that they would call their own. They knew then what absolutely remains true now, that a public university intrinsically dedicated to serving our community has immeasurable value. Studying locally meant more talent would be retained here in Niagara, and that local industry could count on a highly trained workforce, and more innovation would happen right here. And I think we're seeing that. In September 1964, Brock opened its doors with the explicit goal of serving the educational needs of the Niagara community. Some of our first classes were held in an old refrigerator factory, as you're probably aware, but things have really changed. And one of the things that is amazing is 60 years on, we are proud to be not just a few people in an old refrigerator factory, but one of Hamilton Niagara's top employers with almost 3,000 full-time employees, with a vast majority of them living here in Niagara. And if you look at this map, 50 of them live right here in Fort Erie. Our economic impact is felt here in Niagara and beyond. Every year, Brock contributes $1.5 billion, almost, to the Niagara economy. Next year, we'll make sure it's over $1.5 billion. And double that if we consider all of Ontario. We have more than 124,000 Brock alumni from 110 different countries that are out there in the world. There's some of them stay here, and those that go on take a little bit of Niagara with them. A few highlights on this screen. Up in that top left corner is Paul Zalisco, who is from our Brock Niagara Validation Prototyping and Manufacturing Institute, or what we call BPMI. It's much shorter and easier. It's a $14 million collaboration that brings together industry and research so that Niagara companies can test new ideas, they can solve problems, and they can develop technologies that keep our region competitive. Some of the others are just celebrations of things to come and things that are happening, including the establishment of our Brock Research Farm, which is the middle left picture there. As you know, Niagara's future relies on a strong, prepared workforce, and we're especially proud of our experiential learning and co-op offerings. With experiential learning in absolutely 100% of our programs, this is a key differentiator for Brock. Not all universities can say that they have that, and it's something that we have built purposefully through time. Brock is, and because of that, we are a long-standing leader in Canada when it comes to experiential learning. We bridge theory and practice so that students can develop their skills and have a positive impact on local businesses and communities, such as here in Fort Erie. This year, there were 50 co-op placements in Fort Erie, including Airbus, which has been a great co-op partner to Brock, and they were awarded the Co-op Employer of the Year in 2025. So Fort Erie's schools have also been a great supporter of education students from our campus. Since 2023, we've had placements at Garrison Road Public School, Greater Fort Erie Secondary School, and St. Philomena Catholic Elementary School. And so up on the screen is just some examples and testimonials for the work that co-op students are doing. And we absolutely could not do it if it wasn't for you. Your support for our students is so meaningful. We were talking about this out in the hallway. Our students are well placed in their workplace when they leave Brock, but in large part because of the efforts from communities in and around Niagara that give our students a chance to prove what and how amazing they are. So I thank you. Our partnership with municipalities like yours is, as I said, something that Brock truly values. By working closely together, we're able to connect academic expertise with real community needs, supporting workforce development and innovation across Niagara. It's a relationship that we hope is built on trust and a shared purpose, because we want to deliver lasting impact, and we believe that's the way to get there. So just a few pictures up there. The bottom right is when the Fort Erie Economic Development Group visited campus, and then the middle picture at the bottom is from the South Niagara Chamber of Commerce breakfast, where we were all the mayors were there. So one of the things that I just wanted to touch very briefly on is that every university, every organization really does need a North Star. And at a university, that comes in the form of an institutional strategic plan. So as Brock looks to the future, we are guided by a deep belief that meaningful progress happens when people come together around a common purpose and around shared values. Those values shaped Brock's next major step forward, the development of our strategic plan. We, from the very beginning, since we know that we are founded on community, we want to make sure that the community had a voice in what our plan said. And so we asked a lot of people. We asked students, we asked faculty and staff on campus, we asked our community, we asked our donors, we asked everybody that we possibly could. And we got over 3,000 answers. And what we asked them was, what's Brock's purpose? Why are we here? And we heard it in all sorts of different ways. But the bottom line was, the way we interpreted all the different variations was that we are here to transform people and reimagine the future. And so it affirmed our view that as a comprehensive, accessible university, we are essential when it comes to social, economic, and environmental well-being of this region. And it is so important to be able to know that a student who comes in will leave the same person that they came in, but maybe slightly reimagined, maybe slightly transformed, maybe fired up with a desire to make an impact, to change something, to be true to their passions. And so transforming people and reimagining the future is our strategic plan. We have 4 key pillars in that plan: to shape tomorrow through research and discovery, to build sustainable futures, to realize you matter, and to bring the world to Brock and Brock to the world. The first one is obvious. Every university does this, or they should. If they don't, they're not a university, right? So we really do focus our efforts on discovery, research, and knowledge. Building sustainable futures is something that I think here in Niagara is very important to us. Brock is in a biosphere reserve. The environment is something that we can all agree is important to our livelihood and our well-being. But when we talk about sustainable futures, we're not just talking about the environment, we're talking about our fiscal sustainable future. We're talking about the sustainable futures of our students when they go out there into the workforce. So that's why we have it pluralized, because it's not just one kind of sustainability. Realizing you matter is putting the person into the strategic plan. And it was originally the group that was sort of building the strategic plan, the steering committee, wanted to make it sort of as a command and just wanted to say, you matter. And I said, that's a bit rough, let's just soften it a bit. So realize you matter. We wanted to make sure that anybody who is working with Brock, at Brock, any students who graduate from Brock, know that they matter. And bringing Brock to the world and the world to Brock is something that has been a pillar for a long time, as we are dedicated to not just bringing the experiences of, not just bringing people from around the world to Brock, but ensuring that our students get out there and they get to see what's going on in the world. So this last slide really is just highlighting our commitment to community-focused programming throughout Niagara. I don't know if anybody has been to BFIT up there, the one in the sort of the top middle with the ropes going. the BFIT at the Canada Summer Games Park. We support agribusiness through Covey. You can see the grapes and the shovel. Through partnerships with Willow Arts Community and the Marilyn I. Walker School of Fine and Performing Arts, where creativity, expression, and healing help Niagara voices to the foreground. And our MOU partners like Bethesda, there in the bottom left. So, thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for allowing me to share a little bit of what's happening at Brock. And thank you once again for your support, not just of the university, but of our students. And I know that the faculty who live in Fort Erie love Fort Erie. And so I really do appreciate the partnership and the collaboration that we have. It is very meaningful for a university like Brock to know that its community stands behind it. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rigg. We appreciate you coming out and sharing some information about Brock University. Do any members of council have any questions of Dr. Rigg? Councillor Lewis.
I'll ask one because there's no point in coming to a meeting and not getting at least one question. Thank you for your presentation. I was interested in the facts that you provided in terms of how many people work for the university but live in Fort Erie, but in particular the co-op placements. And I'm just wondering if there's any suggestions, or maybe if the Brock has any suggestions on what we can do to better attract more co-op internships into our community, but certainly open to any suggestions you have either tonight or at a later date in that regard.
Yeah, I think my team works really well with the municipality, and I think we have a lot of students who are who do have opportunities here. We talked about different mechanisms of ensuring that in budgets there is money for things like internships. But really, if you have an idea for a student, for an internship, please just reach out. Daniel and April are here, and they can direct the queries appropriately. But yeah, it would be lovely. 50 is a fantastic number. It really is. 50 is the number of people who live here. Do we know how many co-ops we have? Did I say? Didn't I say 50 people lived here? Both. Oh, I may have reiterated the wrong number. Anyways, we'll find out what that number is. So yeah, I mean, whatever it is, we have almost 20,000 students. So we have students all the time who are looking for internships and co-ops. It's a lot of work to place students. So the more we can help you, if you're coming to us, we're not looking for you. So that is, I think, the first step in helping us make sure that you get the quality that you need.
And if I may continue, it would appear, even though transportation is maybe a limiting factor for some students, with 50, there is a way that it works.
I don't know that it's 50, so I think it's 50 people live here.
Whatever it said in the slide.
Did it say 50? Oh, it said 50. Oh, so that's the same number. That's really weird. Okay.
Maybe that's why I remember.
Yeah. No, I think that a lot of our students do have transportation in the region and are from. So we have it's less than I thought. 28% of our students are from Niagara. But when polled, 43% say they want to stay here. So we do attract people to the region. But a good chunk of our students are from the area. A lot of them have transportation. All you have to do is try to find parking on a weekday on campus, and you know that. So, but I do think there is also transportation. So, and co-ops can take lots of forms.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Thank you very much, Dr. Regan. We appreciate you coming with data.
Thanks. I will brave the snow going home. It stopped. See that? Thank you.
Okay, so the next delegation is actually a presentation to some Greater Fort Erie Secondary student swimmers. And, the new high school doesn't have a pool. The old high school in Fort Erie had a pool, so it was a little easier for students to train. And one of my daughters was on the swim team, so she just could stay in the school and swim. That was a different era. Now these students have to go over here to the E.J. Freeland Center to swim, and I understand they do that a couple of times a week, and whatever other training they can put in. So it's a challenge. There is no swimming club in Fort Erie like there are in many other municipalities, but I know that you have excellent coaching and you have a real commitment to doing well for not only yourselves, but for your school and by extension the community. And I see that you've got your principal here who's very proud of the town of Fort Erie and of your school. So these students participated in the South Ontario Secondary Schools Association competition February the 10th, 2026, and then some of them, a couple of them, also qualified for the Ontario Federation of School Athletic Association Championship, which was held on March the 3rd and 4th in Windsor, Ontario. This is a rare entry into provincial championships for anyone in a sport in a community of this size, and there have been remarkable athletes that have come out of Fort Erie Ridgeway High School at one time as well, and did excellent work for the representing the town of Fort Erie. There are a couple of the swimmers who aren't here this evening, but I know that the coach, Carrie Brisebois, would have put in a lot of time and energy and would have been certainly instrumental in the success that you students have provided. So this evening, we're going to recognize, and I'll be going down shortly to ask the students to come forward to the podium, and I'll present them along with Councillor Flagg with a certificate and a Town of Fort Erie pin. The coach, as I mentioned, was Carrie Brisebois. Then there are Riley Arts, who finished 4th in the junior girls 50-meter breaststroke, and she qualified for OFSA, and that must have been a fantastic experience. Riley is also a member of the Mayor's Youth Advisory Committee, and I see she brought her sister along, who was a former chair of the... Oh, that's the mother. That's the mother.
There's a compliment and a half.
You can, yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well done.
Okay, is that called pandering? Also, we have William Connor, who finished 3rd in the senior boys medley relay, along with John Lee, and, he was in the freestyle relay. Tommy MacArthur finished 4th in the senior boys 50-meter breaststroke. You guys were all in the relay, and these are the parts that you swam. One of you did the freestyle, one did the breaststroke, etc. Okay. Also, Anderson Kenna finished in the senior boys freestyle relay. Jacqueline Mason did a personal best in the 100-meter freestyle, and Logan Mendez finished 4th, as did Connor Sari on the senior boys freestyle relay team. Quentin Runge-Rustin and Chloe Thomas aren't here this evening. Quentin finished 1st in the junior boys 50-meter backstroke and 2nd in the junior boys 50-meter freestyle, and he qualified as well for OFSA. So a great result for him, and unfortunately he can't be here. So we're going to come down, Councillor Flagg, and we're going to call you up, and then we'll present you with your certificate. We'll start with the coach, Carrie Brisebois. Congratulations. Okay, so you get in the middle, yes. I had no idea you were a swimming coach. You're famous now. Right here? Okay, and then we'll...
I learned I have to smile too, because I end up... Otherwise, you're like...
Anderson Kenna.
Right. Yeah.
Here this evening. So, Ms. Brisebois, can I give you the certificates as well for Anderson and for Chloe and also for Quentin? Riley Arts. Congratulations.
Thank you.
The forget to tell your dad. That's why people are always asking who the old guy is that's with you. William Connor. Congratulations. Nice to meet you. William is the current chair of the Mayor's Youth Advisory Committee.
Thank you. You're welcome.
John Lee. Congratulations, John.
Thank you.
I'll let you know in the morning.
Pin for you as well. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Jacqueline Mason. Congratulations. Pin for you too, Jacqueline. There you go. Congratulations, Joe. Logan Mendez. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Right here.
And a pin. Pin, there you go. Tommy McCarthy. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Get to hold this.
Oh, yeah.
You get to take it home. There's a pin here too. Here, congratulations. Finally, Connor Sari. Hey, Connor, I don't want to embarrass you, but I remember when you were this big. The lifeguards.
Right here.
Yeah, there you go, Connor. Good point. Congratulations. So as Councillor Flagg mentioned, there's always a need for lifeguards, so I hope some of you folks will bear that in mind and help us out, because there's lots of opportunities in Fort Erie for that. Anyways, we're going to proceed with the balance of our meeting, so if you folks want to leave at this point, you may. You're welcome to stay. We stay because we have to. Yeah. Okay, so there are no public meetings this evening. We do have a consent agenda, and Councillor McDermott, you have the resolution for that. Is there anyone that wishes anything removed from the consent agenda? If not, please proceed.
Thank you, Worship. By myself, seconded by Councillor Christensen, that Council approves the consent agenda as recommended.
Are there any questions or comments? Councillor Noyes.
Thank you, Mayor Redekop. In the 11.3.8 of the Museum and Cultural Heritage Advisory Committee, they've put forth a resolution that asking council to approve the creation of a new book of remembrance, dedication to the fatalities of Fenian raids, including those who died during the Battle of Ridgeway. I think that's a great idea. Just wondering what costs may be associated with, or what are they thinking of?
Well, I've met with Mary McClellan Papp, and so there's been some background research done on this, and what we would do is we would hopefully pass the resolution that requests that, and then we would correspond with the federal government and try to get the ball rolling there. I don't anticipate that there would be a cost associated with that. This is something that would be reflective of the books of remembrance for other conflicts that Canada has been involved in. So we would be we would be trying to get the federal government to do something that we've been asking for about the last at least 10 years. Councillor Flagg.
Thank you, Your Worship. On the same motion, 11.3.8, there's a recommendation to revisit the cemetery name on Curtis Road. And I believe back in 2023, there was something brought forward to this council, much the same as that. And I thought we had discussion and that might have went through for a renaming already. And I thought that went through as a renaming of Curtis Cemetery. I see Councillor Lewis looking at me with maybe some sense of agreement, but I could be mistaken on that, but any assistance or information would be appreciated.
So I don't know if there's anybody on staff that would have knowledge of that. Councillor Dubanow, do you have any recollection of that? I know that I know that we did deal with that, but I don't know whether we came to a conclusion to make any changes. But that's something that we can follow up with. So I would, Sure, Councillor Dubanow?
Yeah, thank you, Worship. I do have a little bit of information on this, and I'm going by memory here, but I believe the committee had looked at this and offered a recommendation, and it was several years ago, with respect to the committee's opinion on how the naming should go. I think at the time, and I'm going by memory here with just reading the minutes here, is that it was just looking for an update and trying to find out where we stood on that. I know that there was some, and Ms. McKellen Papp is very good with research, and I think she was finding some additional information. But yeah, I think anything that staff can provide at this point would be very helpful.
Right, so is that something then that, Ms. Dewar, you can take up with the appropriate staff person? So that we can maybe get some information on that at the next council meeting. Any other items? Any other councillors? I just wanted to make a correction. I noticed that in one of the meetings of the Museum and Cultural Heritage Committee, there was a suggestion that I had indicated that we're not following the list of street names, that we're just giving developers many voices. No, that's not exactly what happened. One of the developers did ask for a copy of Many Voices so that he could review to see what the names are. That's over on the development to the east of Pettit Road. So there will be names that will be reflective of, street names reflective of some of the war veterans. But we still have the list. The list is quite lengthy. But what staff will be doing and has been doing is trying to encourage developers now to look to the historical names on that list. Councillor Dubanow?
Yeah, if I could just perhaps ask a quick question with respect to that. The committee has been very keen on, having an opportunity to review the list and possibly even make suggestions. I think at our last meeting, we kind of pointed the members in the direction of where that list is, and so they could have an opportunity to review it. But I'm just wondering if there are any specific names or individuals that the committee feels are worthy of including in that list for pre-approval. Is that something that the committee could perhaps make as a recommendation as part of the minutes for council to review and decide on how to proceed, or should that go through to the Street and Wayfinding Committee instead?
Ms. Dilwari, is that something that can be taken up by Planning Business Development?
Yes, Your Worship. Once we receive those names, we could include that in our comprehensive list, and that would be for the developers. That would be shared with the developers, and they could take that name.
Okay, if there are no other questions, then I'll call the question. All those in favor of the recommendations? None opposed, that is carried. That takes us then to reports, and Councillor Dubanow, you have the resolution for report IS 13-1-2025.
I do, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Noyes that council receive IS 13-2025 Tennis Club Operating Agreement and IS 13-01-2025 Fort Erie Tennis Courts Operational Update for information, and further, that council proceeds with option 2 as the preferred operating model for the Fort Erie Tennis Courts and invests in the initial startup costs to assume operations.
Any questions or comments? Councillor Noyes.
Thank you. I'll first mention that we received some emails from, I think, the president of the Fort Erie Tennis Club today at 3:10. I haven't really had a chance to digest it and really look through it with some detail. But the general sense I do get is that there was a lack of communication. Repeatedly, like I know we've been communicating a lot, and I was somewhat surprised that they didn't actually send a letter to council or come to council and ask for a meeting, whatever. But again, I'm not blaming anybody, but it seemed that there was a lack of communication, which was unfortunate because we've been discussing it for 3 years. So that's unfortunate. And I'm sure as we go forward, we'll look at that better. I just wanted some clarification. I'm trying to see, they're saying Schedule 1 and Schedule 2, Option 1 and Option 2. Can someone tell me which one Option 2, is that the provide paid membership option and designated specific times of day for open court access? Is that the Option 2?
It's on page 2. There are 2 options, 1 and 2, in the middle of the page.
Yeah, that's, I think what I just, yeah, that's what I just said. So that's what they're referring to, an option. Then the staff is promoting option 2. And I guess my question is that that's a lot of time that you are limiting to only member access. I think it's from 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. on most days, and then 5 p.m. on Monday to Thursday, I think, and then open access on Sunday and Saturday, and some open access on Friday. That's still, and it says evening lessons, women's evening lessons. Like you guys can read it; it's all there. What happens if there isn't any evening lessons? Like, I mean, I'm not quite sure. 5 p.m. They don't say when it closes. Is it 5 p.m. till 10 p.m.?
I'm going to ask the author of the report to come forward, Christina Clint. Good evening. It's on.
Good evening. Thank you. Through you, Mayor. So this was just an example schedule. So most of the time, to be honest, in the summer months, people who play tennis are playing from first thing in the morning till probably 10:30, and then it gets super hot, and then they go indoors. So this is just an example of what a potential schedule would look like. All other times that aren't stated would be free access and open to the public. So if it was just an example, say for 5 p.m. to 6 p.m., there would be lessons for children. All that other time afterwards, until the tennis court is closed, it would be open for public access.
Okay. Thank you for that, because I'm reading them. I do realize it's an example. But again, I'm thinking the example kind of really promotes much more member access than it does public access. But again, it's like you said, it could be, lessons could be from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. and then the rest is open.
Correct.
So I wouldn't, I think it's a good idea. I think I've always said that we should have, some hours put aside for the Fort Erie Tennis Club and for their membership, and I have no problem with that. I'm just questioning the number and the timing, because it looks like, again, this is just an example, so I'm not even going to use this as an example anymore. So I would be interested to see exactly what we're going to be recommending, and hopefully it'll be in close discussion with the tennis club and the members to see what they want, because before it was 26% of the day or something without any particular time outlined. So that's my first comment. I do think it's going in the right direction. And one question is about the bathroom. I know that the clubhouse will be closed and only be open to the members, right? Or correct. What about the bathroom? Which is not the bathroom that's not part of the clubhouse.
Through you, Mayor. We haven't really explored that option yet. We thought about potentially even getting a portable washroom that we could utilize. There is some courts in other municipalities that don't necessarily provide bathroom access, but ideally, if we could, we will. But for the clubhouse one, we will not be opening that one.
Okay, wait a minute, there's two bathrooms there. One is separate from the clubhouse.
Correct.
Why would we not, and that's the accessible bathroom, why would we not keep that one open?
That one we can.
Okay, just wanted to make sure on that. The other, again, that's not a question for Christine, but my other thought was the clay courts, and there's not a lot of mention on the clay courts. There's a reference to it, is that I will not, I'm hoping, after I hear from everybody, that we do not continue with the clay courts this year. If the Fort Erie Tennis Club wants to continue and maintain the tennis courts, the clay courts, including the cost for the watering of the clay courts, I have no problem with that. But I have a problem with clay courts costing, I think the number we have might be wrong. I think it said $25,000 or something per year. But there's been an improvement or something in some of the infrastructure, so I don't know exactly what that cost would be. And I'm sure the water is also being used perhaps somewhere else. I don't know how the meter goes for that particular facility, because there's other things happening in that park. But that the whatever portion that is attributed to the clay courts should be passed on to the Fort Erie Tennis Club.
So I'm going to let Manager Clint speak to that because it's referred to in the report quite a bit.
Correct, through you, Mayor. Yeah, so there was identified that there was a leak, and that's why the cost was actually pulled from finance, that it was 25, or that it was that for last year. There was construction, as we know, that was done, so there's been a solution that's been provided to fix that for 2026. So, but there will still be water costs, which, speaking with John from the Fort Erie Tennis Club, he's assuming around just under 5K still it would cost. Just under 5,000. Okay. It would still cost for water operations, even if it is fixed, the leak.
For the clay courts.
For the clay courts, yes.
Well, thank you for that. That's much better than 25,000. I would still think that they have to, the tennis club could take possession of the two clay courts. They themselves, even before, not all members could play on the clay courts. There was a certain level of expertise or whatever that they could allow the clay courts. I have no problem with the Fort Erie Tennis Club taking control of that and continuing with that as long as they pay the water bill.
That's been part of your discussion with the Fort Erie Tennis Club, has it not?
We have not discussed the water specifically on paying for
in
that.
In terms of them utilizing those
Correct,
courts.
yes, because I have mentioned I also do not have an interest in running those and operating those. Our staff just wouldn't be able to support that, so I have talked to John about that. About them utilizing those courts.
Councillor Noyes, back to you.
Yeah, the other thought is that things are changing. I think they're changing in the right direction. I think there's some give and take here, which is good. But when we do make these changes, I think it's going to be important for us to have some open houses and a lot of PR to say, okay, you can now play on these courts. And what the how you play, like what you have to pay, et cetera, and how you book. I think there has to be a lot of education in regards to that, or so people know. The other thing is that if we designate a particular, I think one of the reports in the past said basically that there would be some priority given to members, which I don't necessarily have a problem with, but there'd be time set aside, but they still would have to book those hours. And there'd be a fee associated, but any hours that aren't booked within 2 weeks prior to the date happening should be open to the public again. Those are just some of my thoughts.
Okay, well, that's something that you'll be working out, correct?
Correct.
Councillor Dubanow.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Just a few comments on this. I think Councillor Noyes, kind of hit the nail on the head. I think we've made progress here, and even though my personal preference may be to move something more towards option one, I think I'm good with at least trying option two, seeing how it works out, and then we can come back and revisit this if needed. The only comment I have is with respect on what Councillor Noyes raised with ensuring the public is aware that these facilities are now available. I think we have an opportunity to get some signage up there. I do know that the report mentions about replacing the existing sign, but certainly I hope we have an opportunity to perhaps put up some of our Fort Erie branded, very nice green signage to kind of give the indication that this is a municipal facility that individuals in the community can use. Very similar to the Optimist Club. They run the facility there, but there's a partnership with the town, so we do have kind of the green branded sign in that area. I think we should do something very, very similar with this because these courts have been kind of closed off for quite some time. And, I can't say how popular they would be that they're open, but the fact is the municipality has made an investment in this. It is only fair that the residents who pay taxes in this community benefit from it. So certainly I think we need to get some signage out there, advertise it, ensure that everyone in the community who has an interest in this utilizes it. I know that there's some caution there also as well with respect to pickleball, so we'll have to keep an eye on that, see where things go. But I'm pleased that we're kind of, I think, notwithstanding, some concerns that the tennis club have raised, I think from the perspective of me here as a councillor, I feel better with where this is going. I'd be prepared to support option 2 tonight. Just a quick question, though, with respect to that, and perhaps this can be filled in. So would the memberships and the fees and everything be on a year-on-year basis, or would they be a long-term agreement? If they're year-on-year, I'm perfectly fine with that. I just wouldn't want to find us, signing 10-year agreements or anything like that.
Through you, Mayor, yes, they would be seasonal.
And I'm good to support this, although I would like to hear what my colleagues on council have to say about it as well. Thank you very much.
Councillor McDermott?
Before I commit to this option 2, I'd be very interested here. I'm a little bit wondering here from the last 2 memos that we've got from the tennis club. I understood the board was going to be away from 2026. Now they're not going to, or are they still aboard, or?
So that's a work in progress, but Manager Clint, can you comment on that?
Yep, through you, Mayor. As I'm aware, is they've temporarily paused for 2026, the board.
So then, if they've temporarily paused, they're not going to have a season this year?
It's an interesting question because I think they're willing to work with the town from a programming capacity, and we're having lots of discussions on how we can move forward, but how that's going to look, I'm not too sure. I don't know if they would resume operations. We haven't had that conversation if the board would resume, but we would still work with them, if that makes sense. They're still committed to working with us, but maybe in a different capacity from the board's perspective.
So I guess the question is, I'm sorry, Your Worship, may I continue? Option 2 here, we have all this cost here. Had the tennis club not paused, would these startup costs, they wouldn't be necessary, or the insurance wouldn't be necessary, because that would be something that would be carried on by the tennis club. Is that not correct?
Manager?
Through you, Mayor. Technically, yes, I would say. If we wouldn't assume these costs, because they do have some of these items on here, on the, I guess, the expense list.
I see. Because basically what we're going to do is get it up and running, and then whenever they come across to run it again, these costs will be covered by them.
I think some of the infrastructure costs wouldn't be, so the security systems, those types of things, they wouldn't be assuming those costs, they would still be the town's cost. So the fob system that we're recommending and the expenses and the security cameras, those items would be ours.
I guess my last question would be, if we are working with the tennis club to come into an agreement so that they don't pause and that they're coming out and doing what they normally do, this would be money that we wouldn't have to spend. Correct?
There are items on the list that would be avoided. I mean, I think the reality is, from what you've been saying and from what the report says is, and from my communications with the tennis club, they're wanting to get a handle on exactly where they stand with the town of Fort Erie. So my understanding is, and there was communication that you received and that I received, indicating that the tennis club wants to continue to collaborate with the town. We don't know what that means yet. I mean, ideally, they would take on the youth tennis program, and that'd be something that would be fine. There's still going to be lots of access to the public that is going to require us to do some of these things. So if we're intent on having greater public access, we do have to incur some of these expenses, but there may be other expenses that can be deferred or minimized if we have a longer-term working relationship with the Fort Erie Tennis Club. They just need to have an understanding of how this is going to roll out, as do we. I think that's where we are.
Okay, thank you. That's not for me.
CAO, you didn't want to get your oar in the water? You don't have to.
No, I think the explanation Ms. Clint provided, and you provided some follow-up. Just, I think there's still some open dialogue that the tennis club has expressed interest. So more recent discussions since the memo's gone out. I guess my only question may be a slight modification to the option 2. If there is still some open dialogue with the tennis club, the town would be open to continue to have those discussions.
Yeah, okay. Anyone else? Before I go back to Councillor Dubanow, any of you that haven't spoken yet? Councillor Dubanow.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I just had another thought. We keep talking about the tennis club, but it looks like we're entering almost a membership system that would not necessarily preclude another organization, like if there was another, youth organization that wanted to do tennis programming, or like a women's or a men's club that wanted to do it, we wouldn't be limited to just utilizing that. We could potentially have other partners who want to come in and purchase these like membership and usage passes. Is that correct?
Through you, Mayor, yes, that's correct, Councillor.
Okay, anyone else? Councillor Noyes.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just going over who gets, the adult membership fee, and again, I guess these are just proposed. The adult membership fee of $100. The adult membership fee now is more than $100. You're talking about the membership to the Fort Erie Tennis Club, or is Fort Erie selling a membership?
Through the Mayor, it would be the town.
Okay, the town would be selling the membership. And when we're going to be renting the $25 per class tennis clinic and lesson fee, that's going to be going to the town?
Through the Mayor, yes, that would be correct.
So all these fees are coming to the town, they're not going to the...
Correct.
To the tennis court. Okay, so when we're talking about membership, they don't have to be a member of the Fort Erie Tennis Club. It can be anybody who wants to pay the $100.
Correct.
And then basically they're not, so you're a member and you want to rent the tennis club courts, and you book it online. You're not paying them the $13?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Anyone else? So just so that I've got some, Councillor Lewis, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple of quick questions, and I do believe this is moving in the right direction, a little bit longer than I think anybody anticipated it taking. But I just wanted to jump on the wording where we heard tonight that the tennis club is looking to collaborate with the town. And I just want to be clear, at least in the 3+ years that I've been sitting here, we've been trying to collaborate with someone from the tennis club this whole time. The only conversation I've had or correspondence I've had with the tennis club is an email that was rather inappropriate. And then in a letter from March 5th that mentions some clarity to that email that was sent to a number of members of council. But if we're talking collaboration, the town of Fort Erie is the one that's agreed to pay over $600,000 for a facility, and the person or the group that is missing in the discussion the whole time has been the tennis club on the whole issue of a lease agreement or an agreement to replace what was previously in place. So I'm glad to hear that there's collaboration, but I think it needs to be spelled out very clearly that I don't know what more we could do to collaborate with the tennis club than what has already been done. And I'm just wondering, is there any reason why they've never come to us? Because the letter that was sent to us on March 5th actually mentions a lot of things I knew nothing about with respect to the tennis club. But I'm just wondering why they've never come, why they've never been here. Tonight, again, we're dealing with something where there's no representative from the club. And I just find it odd that maybe there's a representative from the club, but I don't think there is tonight. But I feel like in the essence of collaboration, that takes two parties. And I hope we're turning a corner on this one, because I don't at any point think that spending that amount of money on the courts wasn't the right thing to do for Fort Erie as a whole. But I am disappointed that the finger has been brought back to us, and I do hope we move past it. But it certainly hasn't been the lack of us trying to get there from around this horseshoe, and maybe some delays on staff side at some point. But to say that we're not collaborating, I think we've been quite collaborative, and I think our bottom dollar on what we're spending on it shows that more than anything.
Manager Clint, you're new to this, and so I don't know that you know the background or the history of communications or lack of communications. You can comment if you wish, but I think unless you've got some personal background, you might not want to.
Yeah, honestly, so far my experience has been positive. They are willing to provide some programming, and we've been having some conversations about what that looks like, and I'm excited to be able to work with them on that.
And I should be clear, my question wasn't...
Yeah, okay.
Thank you for getting us to this point. The question was more to us, how did we get here? And when I see collaboration, on this one, I think we've been most collaborative.
Well, I think I would say in fairness, I think that until recently, we've not given staff the type of direction that they needed in order to have a dialogue with the tennis club that would tell the tennis club, here's what the town is planning on doing. Now they've got the direction, and this is where we are, and there should be lots of room for further dialogue. Yeah, that's... Yeah. Sure.
Still sore on the fact that we're being made to feel like we're not collaborative when we're actually spending $500,000 on a facility.
Right.
And
Yeah. Anyone else? Before you go, I just want to get some clarification. So, if the Fort Erie Tennis Club works out an arrangement with the town to provide youth tennis programming this year, there would have to be some arrangement whereby they would be paying for the court usage. But then would they not be then charging the youth who engage in the lessons? Mm-hmm. Is that the way this would go, as opposed to us charging for the clinic and lesson fees?
It's an interesting question. So I've had multiple conversations with the club about this. I think it would depend on how the programming is positioned, right? If it's the town that's running the program, I don't necessarily, like, they could be running, okay, how do I explain this here? Like, we could potentially be hiring instructors that are representatives from the Fort Erie Tennis Club. It would be through us. Right. I personally wouldn't necessarily charge them for that because they're providing a service on our behalf. If it was the Fort Erie Tennis Club that wanted to rent the courts to provide their own, then yes, I would charge them for that, if that makes sense.
Well, if I just use the arena analogy, if we were to rent ice to a league, whether it's youth hockey or figure skating, they pay us the fee for the use of the facility. What they charge their members, that's up to them.
Yeah.
So I would think it would be something similar to that, but that's something you can work out with them, I believe. Councillor Noyes?
Just to that, if the town runs the youth program, there's no bingo money. If my memory serves me, Sometimes it doesn't.
Well, it depends on what the bingo money is allocated for.
Well, bingo money can only be allocated for youth programs.
Well, I don't know
In
if
this
that's what
case.
their budget says.
Well,
Do you?
I know that they had if I'm not mistaken, this year, they're getting $40,000 from bingo, and considering one of the requirements when you spend money on bingo, it has to be for youth programs. And so I imagine they've done that in the past, too, that the bingo money has been put towards youth programming. I also understand from some of the research I've done is that they also some subsidies from the Jump Start and other programs type thing. But if you're not subsidized, the children who are participating in this do pay, beside their membership, they do pay for 10 lessons. I think it's $100. I don't know the exact amount, but they have paid in the past for the lessons. And the club has also benefited because they've forwarded, they're using it in the right way. They're using it for the youth programs, but there's a considerable amount of money that they're getting from gaming to, well, I'm saying bingo, but it's really gaming, to promote youth activities and put towards youth programs. They can't use that money to fix anything, from what I understand, that the town owns. The town property, they can't do that. But so how this arranges, if we do have the youth program, it's important to know whether the town's putting it on, because then they were not entitled to the gaming revenue, and if the tennis club is putting it on, then it is. They can still benefit from the gaming. At least that's how I'm looking at it. But if the tennis club dissolves and it's no longer there, and another club steps in, you still can't access the gaming revenue for at least a year, and then you have to apply for a license, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, so I'm going to stop you there because we did receive some information from the tennis club. I received it. Councillor Lewis received it. I don't know whether the rest of council did, but they received $17,000 in bingo revenue. It doesn't indicate how that was broken down. The year before, they received $34,500. So I don't know what they get the bingo revenue for. Presumably, some of it is for youth. Well, okay, Councillor Noyes, unless you know that for a fact, I don't think you should be throwing that out there because you've thrown out an inaccurate amount. So unless you know for a fact that that's all that they get bingo revenue for, I think we should be cautious about that.
Again, that's why I'm bringing it up. I'm thinking it does make a difference, and I said I wasn't sure of the amount. In the back of my mind, I remember that one of the bingo things, they were allocated a certain amount.
Well, you were quite assertive about the amount.
Fine.
Okay.
But
So-
long story short, I think we do need to figure
Exactly.
out about the gaming revenue, how that's affected by whoever's going to run the program.
Okay. Anyone else before I call the question? Thank you very much, Ms. Clint. Okay, then I'm going to call the question. It's option 2 that's on the floor. All those in favor of proceeding with option 2? That is unanimous. Okay. That takes us then to new business. And Councillor Flagg, you have the first resolution under new business.
I do, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Noyes. Whereas 2026 marks the celebration of International Volunteer Year, a once-in-a-generation opportunity to recognize the power of civic participation and renew Canada's culture of volunteering. And whereas Ignite Volunteerism is a year-long national effort to elevate the role of civic participation, rebuild volunteer infrastructure, and celebrate volunteer stories across communities. And whereas National Volunteer Week, taking place April 19th to April 25th, 2026, provides an opportunity to recognize and celebrate the many ways individuals across Canada ignite volunteerism in their communities. And whereas aligning National Volunteer Week 2026 with Ignite Volunteerism initiatives highlights the important role volunteers play in strengthening communities and deepening our collective impact. Now therefore be it resolved that Council proclaims April 19th to April 25th, 2026 as National Volunteer Week and expresses its sincere appreciation and gratitude to all volunteers for their invaluable contributions to our community.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? I think we can all agree that we're very fortunate that we have so many volunteers in this community that are engaged in so many activities for the benefit of our residents. All those in favor of the sorry, Councillor Christensen.
Yes, Your Worship. I did want to say, because I had the privilege for a number of years in the early 2000s working for a small organization that supported voluntary sector organizations and worked very closely with volunteers across the voluntary sector. What pleases me about this motion is the acknowledgement that there is actually a systemic value. The concept of civil society, of civic participation, is something that is inherent to democracies. Council and the community should be aware that in democratic societies, civic participation, volunteerism, and civil society go hand in hand. That was demonstrated in the post the dissolution of the Soviet Union, where states, independent states that had no volunteers, no volunteerism, grew massive grassroots voluntary sector organizations that contributed to the voice, to lending the voice of the people to their own governance. So it's more than, it's beyond a celebration of individual volunteers. It's an acknowledgement of the commitment to the democracy that I think all of us stand by.
Thank you for those comments, Councillor Christensen. All those in favor of the resolution? None opposed, that is carried. That takes us then to Councillor Lewis.
Got my paperwork here. Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McDermott. Whereas at its February 23rd, 2026 regular council meeting, council approved the following resolution in response to a correspondence item from Niagara Region Chair Bob Gale regarding a request for input on municipal governance reform. That council authorized the mayor on behalf of council to file a complaint under the regional council's code of conduct, and whereas regional chair Bob Gale resigned from office on March 11th, 2026, now therefore be it resolved that no further action be taken by the mayor or town staff with respect to the resolution adopted on February 23rd, and that the mayor be directed to formally withdraw his complaint.
I can say that I did receive a call from the Integrity Commissioner a couple of days after Councillor Gale had resigned, after he had had an opportunity to verify that Councillor Gale could not resume his council seat at the regional council table, so that he is no longer on regional council. For all intents and purposes, he cannot be disciplined at this stage, hence the request to withdraw the complaint. Does anyone else have any questions with respect to this? Councillor Dubanow?
Yeah, Your Worship, just a brief comment, not so much about the resignation itself. I'll let others infer from that whatever they want, but you know, I'm on my 8th year of council now as a municipal councillor, and I think one of the great amazing things about municipal governments in Ontario is that it's collaborative. We don't have a house with two sides and with one side that has to yell at the other side all the time. We work together, and I think our council here in Fort Erie in particular.
Must have missed that meeting.
Well, no, it's a collaborative environment, and we work on, consensus is the wrong word because the majority vote carries, but we work together, and we're individuals, and we speak for ourselves, and the way we campaign is with our own, purpose and our own vision for the community. And one of the things I personally have tried to do, and I don't like to speak for others, but I feel it's been demonstrated by my colleagues on council, is that when there's an issue or there's something that comes up or there's a challenge that we have to tackle, we try to work together. We try to, hash out how we feel about an issue, try to, come to terms with what our concerns are, what our vision is. And then, we're very fortunate in Fort Erie because I think this council we work great. I was very fortunate to be on a great council last term. I'm fortunate to be on a great council this term. And it's just unfortunate this went down the way it did, because had we had some proper dialogue, had there been an ability to, come around, kind of voice, have individuals voice concerns, I think we would have had a much better outcome from all of this and for everyone involved than the fiasco that we had that night that led to this motion being put on the floor. So hopefully we turn a page on that, but I'm hopeful we don't turn the page on regional governance reform. I think that's a very important conversation. I just personally think that could have been handled far better and in a far more data-driven way. But I'll just leave it at that. And I'll just mention that, I feel very fortunate to be a member of municipal council. I am of the personal feeling that municipal governance is the best functioning governance precisely because we operate as a horseshoe or as a circular table or as a line and not two opposing sides that always go after each other. And I firmly believe that, and I have a lot of respect for individuals who are in this situation who live up to that, for lack of a better word, that almost that privilege that we've been given. So those were just my comments, Your Worship.
Thank you. Anyone else before we vote? All those in favor of the resolution? None opposed. Any other new business or inquiries? Councillor Noyes.
Thank you, Mayor Redekop. I think all of us received an email or a letter from a gentleman called Cormos Adams. It was dated March 21st about the knotweeds, and he had a lot of suggestions and concerns regarding that. And I think he brought a lot of important facts forward, and I'm just wondering where this information is going, and are we going to direct staff to address some of the concerns and some of the solutions he's recommending?
Well, I think providing it to staff would be appropriate. This is a rather lengthy email, and I got through part of it, and then I remembered he'd referenced a message from last year, and he suggested that he never heard anything. I did send him a response last year, but yeah, this is something that should be looked at. It's for staff that doesn't have it. It's a reference to Japanese knotweed, and it's suggesting that there's only one location in Fort Erie where there are trillium plants, which isn't true, and that there's no milkweed or Joe Pye weed. My correspondence last year indicated I've got 3 patches in my yard. I know one of my daughters has 2 patches, and once you've got them, you've got milkweed. And I also have a couple of patches of Joe Pye weed, but that I think we should refer to staff, and I'll send it to the director. She can then pass it on to our environmental planner, who probably can comment on this, so that at least we've got a response. And certainly there is a reference to some of our bylaws and what have you. I'll go to you, Councillor Christensen, as soon as Councillor Noyes is finished.
On another same thing with environmental thing is that I know we talk every year about cleanup of the ditches and stuff and removing the garbage and stuff like that, and we have a community thing arranged and stuff. I'm just wondering what the timing of that is, because I know in the past I've had concerns that sometimes we wait too late and then the ticks are out. And I'm just wondering if we've kind of considered what the best time to start promoting community organizations or whatever to do some of the cleanup.
So we usually do that around Earth Day, but that was one of the questions I was going to be putting to the CAO, because we should be tying that in with something that has been raised before at this council, and that is the Adopt a Road, the Adopt a Park program as well. So to Councillor Noyes' question about timing, and to my question about the adoption programs, can you comment?
Sure, through you to Councillor Noyes. So we are developing some communication because there's a number of initiatives that are going on that council has directed, some that staff have been undertaking. So a bit of coordination between our community services department, infrastructure services, communications to outline what's happening. But the mayor is correct. We normally launch the community cleanup on Earth Day, April 22nd. And so we'll be arranging to do that. Mr. Peasel may have some additional information to offer in terms of work scheduling for some of the crews to be out working. I know that the Adopt a Road program has been something in place, does come with some concerns, safety concerns with us having untrained members of the public cleaning along roadways and ditches and corridors. But the Adopt a Park program will need a little bit more formalization, but we're hoping that the launch of the Earth Day program, and then we do follow up with the Provincial Day of Action on Litter. So there's two sort of back-to-back initiatives we'll be doing for sure. Some other communication around garbage collection and some of the process improvements that we plan to put in place this year for a more coordinated and maybe streamlined schedule around garbage collection, which is part of the litter issue as well. Mr. Peasel can elaborate a bit more about the Adopt a Park program, but we do have a little bit more work to do. We're hoping to launch that as a more sustained effort throughout the year to keep the parks cleaned across town. And I think we've got quite a bit of community interest, corporate and community groups interested to help us undertake that, which has been really, really encouraging. So I don't know if Mr. Peasel has anything addition to add to that, but there certainly will be some communication out very shortly on those initiatives.
Okay. Anything further, Councillor Noyes?
Just on that same thing again, and I appreciate all that, and I think it's great that we're going to be doing it, but I also think the timing of the ticks is really important, and I don't know how, I'm not an expert on ticks, and I'm not, but I do know that it's after the snow and before the grass starts growing is when the ticks start. So to make sure that we're kind of looking, because I know some of the community members who might volunteer are concerned about the ticks when they're going into the ditches and things. Thank you.
Councillor Christensen.
I just wanted to comment that I did ask staff earlier today about both the original email with the extensive questions with regard to the broader approach to non-traditional plantings like milkweed and specified the knotweed, and staff indicated they were already preparing to.
They're on it.
Yeah.
Okay, and you're the chair of that
That's why,
subcommittee.
yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why they're on it, yes. Anyone else, any other new business or inquiries? Mr. Peasel, I just wanted to ask you about some type of warning mechanisms at the recreation trail crossings. So on the roads, there is nothing that outstanding of an outstanding nature that warns drivers. Those who are familiar with the area would know, but those who aren't wouldn't know. So is it possible to look at some ways that we can alert the vehicular traffic about these crossings?
Yeah, to you, your worship, there was a report that came out in the end of 2024 that identified the trail crossings and the safety that comes with it. Part of the recommendations on that report were to increase our yield signs, or shark teeth they call them, coming up to the trail crossings along with extra signage. We're going to follow the recommendations of that report, as well as if additional complaints come in, look at the potential of putting delineators in or some kind of the other traffic calming measure to slow traffic down.
Okay, and then I had one other question that had to do with the rural roads. Started with one rural road, then it was another rural road, then it's now another rural road, and these are roads that haven't been double surface treated. These are dirt roads, typically out in farming territory, so there's a lot of farm equipment on them, but there are people that live on these roads. And so do we have an inventory of these dirt roads in our community, and do we have a specific program that deals with how we keep them at least in some type of shape where they're passable? over the course of the winter, and then into the spring with the melting snow and the rain, these roads become quite soft. They're difficult to navigate on the one hand, and on the other hand, they create a lot of problems. So do we have an inventory and do we have a policy?
For your worship, we do have regular maintenance plans that happen on these rural roads and on the dirt roads. Usually they happen twice a year, 2 to 3 times a year, where they get turned over by a grader and new material is added to the road. Currently, right now, we're looking at the roads based on complaint base and how often they're traversed, as well as the number of residents that are on the road. And we're going to be looking at improving our programs and possibly improving the surfaces on those roads.
I think it would be helpful if we did do more than just a complaint, because we'll just keep getting complaints from the roads that we haven't looked at. So I appreciate that, and if you could circulate, maybe at the next IS meeting, if you could circulate some information on that would be helpful. If there are no other inquiries or new business, then that takes us to what? Closed session, and Councillor Noyes, you have the resolution for that.
Thank you, Mayor Redekop. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Flagg. The council does now go into closed session at 7:23 p.m. to consider the following. 14.1 closed meeting minutes of February 23rd, 2026. 14.2 Museum and Cultural Heritage Advisory Committee appointment pursuant to Section 239 in brackets 2 and brackets B of the Municipal Act 2001. 14.3 Seniors Advisory Committee appointment pursuant to Section 239 in brackets 2 and brackets B of the Municipal Act of 2001. 14.4 Bridgeburg North Secondary Plan Community Focus Group appointment pursuant to Section 239 in brackets 2 and brackets B of the Municipal Act 2001. And 14.5 Litigation update regarding 3957 Repstock Road, OLT-25-000737 pursuant to Section 239 in brackets 2 and brackets F of the Municipal Act 2001.
Thank you. Could you change the time to 7:24? Because during the time that you read this, we lost a minute. So it should say 7:24, because that's when we're going.
Well, I was very assertive when I said 7:23.
I know you were, so. Now, please be assertive about 7:24. All those in favor? Thanks very much. So we're back in the council chamber, and Councillor Lewis, you have the resolution for us to rise and reconvene from closed session. There are 5 items that we dealt with in closed session. The one, 14.4, I had a pecuniary interest in, or a conflict. So I would ask you to do that first. And Councillor McDermott, I would ask you to take the chair for item 14.4. The conflict that I have is one of the individuals recommended to be added to the community focus group is Brad Brunton. He has now, I now have a business relationship with him, so I therefore declare a conflict on that basis.
Councillor Lewis?
Thank you, Chair McDermott. And we need a seconder because he's now chair. I should get
a different seconder for that.
Can you second this? Okay. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Christensen, that council does now rise and reconvene from closed session at 7:42 p.m. with report 14.4, that council receives confidential report PBBS 112025 regarding the Bridgeburg North Secondary Plan BNSP Community Focus Group modification and further. Modification. And further? Okay. And further that council appoints Sean Keeper and Brad Brunton to the BNSP Community Focus Group. I'll leave it there.
All in favor? Back to you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Councillor McDermott. Councillor Lewis, the balance of the closed session items then, please.
Thank you. 14.1, that council approves the closed session minutes of February 23rd, 2026. And 14.2, that council appoints Gabrielle Todd to the Museum and Cultural Heritage Advisory Committee for the term ending November 14th, 2026, or until her successor is appointed. And 14.3, that council appoints Susan Jacobs to the Senior Citizens Advisory Committee for the term ending November the 14th, 2026, or until her successor is appointed. And 14.5, that council receives confidential report LLS 022026 litigation update regarding 3957 Rebstock Road OLT 25000737 and authorizes the town solicitor to proceed as directed in closed session.
Was that seconded by Councillor McDermott or Councillor Christensen?
Councillor Christensen for the second as well.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? None opposed, that is carried. That takes us to motions. There are 2 that show up on the agenda. One, Councillor Christensen, you're withdrawing, is that correct?
Yes, Your Worship. I had some discussions with the clerk, and so we're going to probably bring something back at a later time because it's more complicated than I had anticipated. So
Okay. And Councillor Lewis, you have a motion as well, but you're asking that be postponed to April the 27th, 2028 council meeting.
Correct, and in the true fashion of collaboration and trying to move this forward, we will move this on yet again.
That's perfect. Okay. Does anyone have any notices of motion this evening? There being none, that takes us to the consideration of bylaws. Does anyone have any bylaws they wish removed from the package? If not, then Councillor Christensen, could you proceed with first and second reading?
Yes, thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McDermott, that the bylaw package containing 19-2026 to authorize the entry into agreement of purchase and sale with Niagara South Standard Condominium Corporation number 162 for the purchase of Part 1 on 59R-18418- extension of Hagee Avenue, 20-2026 to authorize the execution of a subdivision agreement with 2627781 Ontario Inc. for the Spring Creek Estate subdivision, 21-2026 to regulate the depositing of snow and ice and to repeal bylaw 17-09. 22-2026 to regulate the use of parks and beaches in the town of Fort Erie and to repeal and replace bylaw 119-03, and 23-2026 to amend bylaw 2000-89 as amended to regulate traffic and parking on highways, and bylaw 84-2014 as amended to establish a system for administrative penalties respecting the stopping, standing, and parking of vehicles. Housekeeping amendments are given first and second reading.
All those in favor? That is carried. So that's on the floor. I just, bylaw 22-2026 has been revised, and there was an email sent out to us this afternoon about that. Does anyone have any questions with respect to the changes that were made, or is everyone familiar with the changes that were proposed? Then I think, Mr. Goyer, you, I believe, are responsible for this report. Could you come forward then and maybe just explain to us the two changes that were proposed and have been made in the draft bylaw? Thank you.
Good evening, Council, and good evening, Your Worship. So the changes that are being brought forward today are the Bay Beach regulations and recreational trail regulations. So for Bay Beach, I believe Council directed the permission of stand-up paddleboard and kayaks due to the beach capacity reaching basically capacity very early on in the day. On the weekends, we wanted to ensure that people were not coming onto the beach with kayaks or paddle boards and stuff like that. So this amendment had to be done as the old bylaw, the wording was actually incorrect, and we were referencing that people could come during these hours when really it was the opposite, so that had to be corrected. With the recreational trail regulations, we looked through this today, and it turns out that the Phase 3 portion has been completed. So it was a little bit redundant, and we felt that it could be removed at this point. I guess there is an equestrian OP that does kind of intersect with the Friendship Trail. So I've also just put in unless otherwise posted.
Any questions of Mr. Goyer on that? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Any questions or comments with respect to any of the other bylaws in the package? Councillor Flagg and then Councillor Noyes.
Thank you, Your Worship, and I'm going to continue on 22-2026. Just a couple of maybe admin changes here that I noticed when I read it a second time. Under 13.3, it talks about no one being in the park between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. And then it goes on to talk about parking in a park, and that you can not park until 6 a.m. So if we're not in the park, if we can't park until 6 a.m., it doesn't make sense that we're in the park at 5 a.m. kind of thing. So I'm just thinking that there might be some sequences there that could be looked at. And then further, 3.21 and 3.22 both talk about liquor in the park, and they seem to be able maybe to be combined if staff looked at those. And the other one that I read a couple of times, and I'm not sure if I'm reading it correctly, but in the dog off-leash regulations, it says, notwithstanding the use of the off-leash dog areas is restricted to the hours between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. And that, to me, means if it's restricted to those hours, that would be when you're allowed there. Maybe I'm misreading that, though. I think that the intent is that you're not supposed to be there, but it's just, I don't know, just maybe the way I'm reading it, but it does appear to be that.
Paragraph is that?
That's 5, off-leash regulations 5, and then VIII under 5.3.
Yeah.
Reverse. It needs to be flipped around.
Yeah, I think it needs to be flipped, because restricted to those hours, to me, indicate that you're allowed to be there during those hours.
So let me ask, how important is it for us to deal with this tonight?
Can bring it back to council. It's not urgent, it's not time sensitive.
Okay, then, Councillor Flagg, you've made some comments about those, and I think some of those changes could and should be made. Did you have any further items that
No,
you refer to?
No, I think those are the ones that, and again, sometimes when you read something 2 or 3 more times, you see things you didn't the first or second time. So, and I didn't get to this until late on Sunday night. So I apologize that I didn't give staff the heads up on some of it.
If you read this a couple more times, will you let staff know of any other changes?
I will do so. I will absolutely do so.
Because where I think this is going is we're going to defer this particular bylaw, but I want to hear from Councillor Noyes. You may have some comments as well.
Thank you. Yes, one of the ones I wanted to mention again was about the dog parks. And I know it says that children under 12 are not allowed, and I'm just wondering if we could make some exception that if there is, I know it's a bit wordy, but if there's no other dog in the dog park, and an adult and a child wants to go there with their dog or dogs, that they be allowed. I would hate to not utilize the dog parks as much as we possibly can.
So I wonder if we could hear from Ms. Aguirre about what went into that, if she's familiar.
Your Worship, if I'm being quite honest, a lot of the material that's being touched on is not material that I have worked with. I am unfamiliar to all of the older regulations as it wasn't something that I had put into place. So I will have to get back to
So that's
council.
something that you can look into
Absolutely.
over the course of the next month.
Absolutely.
Yes, and I'm hoping that some of council will weigh in on this again. Again, it's only if there's no other dog in there and a parent and the child or a grandparent and the child wants to bring their dog into the dog play to play ball or whatever, that they be allowed. But if there's another dog there, then they can't.
Well, and if another dog comes, they have to leave?
They have to leave, yeah.
Well, that may be tricky to enforce, but
Well, I think it's tricky to enforce anyway. Again, its bylaw is complaint-driven. But I would hate to see, if the park is empty, if the dog park is empty, that if someone under 12 and an adult wants to use it, they should be able to use it.
so that's somebody, you're suggesting somebody a child under 12 if accompanied?
Yes,
The understanding being they have to leave if another dog shows up.
yes.
Anything further, Councillor Noyes?
They touched on it, there's a redundancy in here. 3.21 is redundant. You don't need it. It's covered in 3.22.
I will make those changes, Councillor Noyes, to those.
And I am glad to see that in here it does say that when the parks are closed, I can't remember the exact time, is it 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. or something like that, unless otherwise stipulated, because I know that there, and I've mentioned this before, not all things are equal, and I think we've given an example of the tennis court that we discussed earlier. We're probably going to be putting some close times on there. And I know the one park on Ott Road, we had a big problem several years ago with tailgate parties after the baseball games and stuff, and the neighbors were having problems with that, and we did put a gate on, and it is closed. I think the baseball people, everybody's in agreement. I think they closed the gate after the last game, and it's ended at when the game's over, they have to leave the park, and I would hate to see that that's going to be reverted back to, you can stay there till 11 p.m. And again, if there is a reason that the residents do and the council agrees that the that there's a reason to have more limited hours, at least this bylaw allows us to consider that. It's not automatic. It's automatic until, but we can look at it and change it. Thank you.
Yeah, just touching on the issue of children in the dog parks, and unless there's a liability reason, which is why we prohibit under 12 to begin with, wouldn't it just be easier to require parental supervision, regardless of whether there's a dog there or not? Can we not, unless it's an insurance or a liability issue for the municipality, can't we trust the judgment of parents to determine whether their child should be in a dog park with other dogs? I'm just trying to think of a way to simplify it, that's all. If it is not a insurance or a regulatory issue, which we probably couldn't allow children in there anyway, even if they had to leave. So I'm just trying to think of a way to simplify this. Because I get where Councillor Noyes is going, and I don't think it's a bad idea. I don't think it needs to be that complicated.
And to that point, the child is accompanied. What's the rationale for them not being in the dog park? Councillor Noyes?
I actually brought this forward,
So now you're
saying that exact same thing, but I will say that Councillor, if I'm putting words in Councillor Christensen's, paraphrasing Councillor Christensen, is that there were some good reasons expressed. And I'm not used to dog parks, and I know Councillor Christensen is, in that there were some good reasons that she gave why children should not be allowed in dog parks, because you never know how a dog's going to react, and sometimes the kids can make noise or whatever that can get a usually well-behaved dog to behave poorly. And again, I did bring this up a while ago, and that's why I'm kind of saying, okay, maybe not if there's other dogs, but if there's no other dogs, maybe we should allow it.
So when staff is looking at this, I think you should look at it through the lens of potential liability. Okay. Anything further, Councillor Dubanow? Anyone else on this? Then can we have Councillor Christensen?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, Councillor Noyes has mentioned that. I not only have dogs, but I was on the leash-free Mississauga Dog Park Committee for my sins for about 5 years. During that time, I had reason to do fairly extensive research on the issue of how rules were set. And yeah, the issue of children is quite, it's very much whatever council chooses. Some of it is a liability issue. Some of it is and this is from the lens after many meetings, the lens of dog owners, owners of dogs who do not like children, and have nowhere else to run their dogs. And so there's an issue. The other is, with respect, the fact that in the event of a problem between a child and a dog, the dog will always lose. So that is, we set the laws, they're our children. That's it. So there are a number. It's an issue of. I've seen kids in dog parks. I've experienced kids in dog parks, but it is potentially a liability issue, and it's more a matter of what comfort and certainly after Ms. DeGore does some further research, where council lands, but there is extensive history about municipally in Ontario and across the country, as well as in the States, about dog parks and kids in dog parks. And, it's a matter of where council chooses to go, so.
Okay, anyone else on this? Then can I have someone move to defer this to April the 27th? And Councillor Christensen, you're seconding that. So you may have a seat.
Thank you.
All those in favor of deferring this to April the 27th? That is carried. Look, in the old days, I used to be able to control that microphone over there. Oh, so I see, we can't do it at the same time. Okay. Any other questions before I go to third and final reading? Councillor Noyes.
Yes, on 18.2, 20-2026, it's about the Spring Creek Estate subdivision, and I understand that we're still undergoing an assessment in regards to the third access that has to be completed, and that the actual clock starts once the site plan is approved, I think, if I'm not incorrect. So I was concerned that we wouldn't have enough time, but we should have enough time, because once this execution of the agreement is, there's still 3 years before they can actually start building, and the laneway or the potential laneway will still be in reserve until that decision is reached.
And that's been confirmed by staff?
Yes. And the other one I wanted to talk about is the 18.5, 23-2026. And I'm all for the regulated traffic parking on highways, but I feel I have to bring this up because I brought this up a few times and I haven't seen any changes yet, is that the town itself, we're breaking our own bylaw when it comes to parking. And we have parking spots painted way too close to driveways. I think it's, 2.1 or 1.6 or whatever. It's supposed to be about 5 feet away from a driveway, if I'm not mistaken, before you can park your car. We have painted, you can park here lines within, I'd say, less than a foot of some people's driveways. And I mentioned that a few times. And I even mentioned it to our legal rep, and I haven't seen any changes. I still see the lines there that say that someone can park. I'm assuming that if we have lines that say, looks like a parking spot, that you're safe to park there. And I will say from experience, and from people complaining, is that when you park that close to a driveway, you cannot see if a car is approaching on the road. You have to kind of pull out, and I know one time I was almost hit by somebody pulling out of a driveway because there was a truck parked right by his driveway. Someone was parked on the road, he was pulling out, and only by the grace of God was I not hit. So it really is important that we do pay attention to the setbacks for the driveways and intersections. And I don't think we are very diligent at doing that. I do know we're going to lose parking spots, absolutely know that. But at the same point, it's our own bylaw that says you can't park that close. And I think it also brings the liability thing up, that if somebody does park in those lined parking spots and an accident does happen and the person says, well, I couldn't see the car because the truck was parked there, we may have a liability issue.
Director Pizzo, will you have someone follow up with Councillor Noyes on that?
Yes, Your Worship, I'll take that back.
Because if there are, it sounds like there are specific locations, and then there may be some other research that can be done.
Yes, sir.
Anything further, Councillor Noyes?
Nothing further.
Anyone else? Okay, third and final reading, that would be Councillor Flagg. And so we've taken 2026 out.
Right. So moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Noyes, that bylaw 19/2026 to 21/2026 and 23/2026 are given third and final reading to be signed by the mayor and clerk under the corporate seal.
Any questions or comments? Ms. Dilwari, I did say that with respect to bylaw 2026, that's the Spring Creek Estate subdivision, I was going to ask about the timing of the registration of the subdivision agreement. There's a specific provision that says that if it's not signed within a year of us passing this bylaw, it's null and void. There's a provision that says the owner is supposed to register it, but it doesn't say when he's supposed to register it. Shouldn't there be a time frame on that?
Your Worship, it's my understanding in this case, the applicant is pretty eager to start construction, so they would proceed with registration pretty quick, but I can get that information. What are the timeframes?
Well, if it's got to be signed within a year, and maybe Mr. Riley, you can help us, is there any problem with us indicating that it needs to be registered within a year? I mean, he can't theoretically build until he's got it registered, but I don't want to be in a situation where we have been, where 20 years later, something crops up and we're stuck by something that we committed to years ago. So it could get signed and then not registered. I don't want to be bound by that sometime down the road.
To Mayor Redekop's question, so would we be bound if we were able to register?
The owner is supposed to register this subdivision agreement once it's signed, but there's no indication of when it's supposed to be registered. And I would think that we would want it registered within a certain period of time.
We could change the language to say registered forthwith upon execution of the agreement.
Okay. Anyone want to amend this bylaw? That'd be paragraph 2, to provide that it needs to be registered. Is it 2? No, it's 3. To be registered forthwith. Councillor Dubanow, do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Lewis? Any comments or questions on that? All those in favor of putting in that time frame? Opposed? That's carried. Any further questions or comments then with respect to any of the bylaws left in the package? Including 2026 as amended. All those in favor then? That is carried. The confirmatory bylaw, first and second reading, is Councillor Dubanow.
It is, Your Worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Flagg, that bylaw 24-2026 to confirm the actions of council at its council and committee meeting held on March 9th, 2026, and its regular meeting held on March 23rd, 2026 is given first and second reading.
All those in favor? None opposed? That is carried. Councillor McDermott, you have third and final reading of the confirmatory bylaw.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Christensen, that bylaw 24-2026 is given third and final reading to be signed by the mayor and clerk under the corporate seal.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor? None opposed? That is carried. That takes us to scheduling of meetings. Any meetings? Councillor Christensen.
Thank you, Your Worship. On Wednesday, April 1st, the Seniors Citizens Advisory Committee will meet at 10 a.m. in Committee Room 1. And the same day, the Ridgeway BIA Board of Management will meet at 5:30 p.m. in the Crystal Ridge branch of the library. And the following week, on April the 7th, the Planning, Building and Bylaw Business Subcommittee will meet in Meeting Room 1 at the Leisureplex at 2:15.
Any other meetings? If not, Councillor Dubanow.
Yes, Your Worship. I would like moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Flagg, that council adjourns at 8:09 p.m. to reconvene into a regular meeting of council on April 27th, 2026.
All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you all.